Paul Fisher.
Mr Deputy Speaker, I move the motion relating to Australia and the European Union in the terms in which it appears in the notice paper.
The member for Fisher has the call.
Mr Deputy Speaker, the personal links between Australia and the European Union are deep-rooted and profound. Over the past 2 centuries, from every corner of Europe, immigrants have come to Australia and contributed to our culture and our way of life. Just as important have been the Australians who have journeyed to Europe and returned. From the first Australian Imperial Force to the backpackers who travel today for work and new experiences, Australians have visited Europe and forged links between our continents that will never be forgotten. Today, our respective peoples share a fundamental commitment to core values. The nations that gave us the Magna Carta, the Enlightenment, and the Geneva Convention believe unswervingly, as we do, in democracy, freedom, and the rule of law. In the future, in this ever-increasing uncertain world, close cooperation between Australia and the European Union is going to be critical to our security and our prosperity. According to the Institute of Studies on Conflict and Humanitarian Action, the combined military resources of the European Union represent the second most powerful armed force on Earth, while its combined GDP is more than $16 trillion US dollars. As was demonstrated last year in the release of the new EU Global Strategy for Foreign and Security Policy, the Member States of the Union use and will continue to use this power and influence in the pursuit of objectives that are closely aligned to our own. In the fight to defeat Daesh and prevent international terrorism, we work together through Europol and the Australian-EU Counter-Terrorism Dialogue. We cooperate as part of the Anti-Daesh Coalition and in the International Syria Support Group. In opposing Russia's expansionist actions in recent years, Australia and the European Union have been united in condemnation and the imposition of sanctions. Closer to Australia in the South China Sea, the European Union has added its considerable weight to our own calls for all parties to resolve their disputes by peaceful negotiation, while on North Korea, the EU has led in seeking strong sanctions to restrain that country's aggressive and dangerous nuclear weapons program. In economics, the EU is already our second largest trading partner and the single largest source of foreign investment into our country. At a time when in some parts of the world there is an emerging sense of disillusionment with globalisation and the enthusiasm for protectionism, the continent of Adam Smith remains committed to the building of prosperity for all through liberalised international trade. With 500 million people, political stability and $16 trillion US dollars in GDP, this will always be a market that Australian businesses want the best possible access to. This government recognises the critical importance of the EU-Australian partnership to our future and has taken active steps to create ever closer links. The Minister for Foreign Affairs should be commended by the House for her work in driving forward this agenda and building the strong relationships we need with the EU decision-makers. The EU-Australia Leadership Forum is just such a relationship-building initiative. Great ideas, Mr Deputy Speaker, come from collaboration. By working together, sharing and developing our visions at an early stage, we can diversify and intensify our partnership with the EU. That is what this initiative will achieve. The project is unique among the EU's diplomatic activities. No government other than ours has forged this link. It is generously funded by the European Union with a grant of nearly $3 million. Over the next 3 years, the EU-ALF will bring together key European and Australian leaders from government and opposition, business, media, education and civil society to provide input and ideas on growing our relationships in the future. The project's multi-stakeholder steering committee has already met for the first time, while the first meeting of the full forum will take place in Sydney between 2nd and June this year. But this government has also has the foresight to recognise the importance of the next generation in continuing this ongoing work. That's why the project includes a second stream, the Emerging Leaders Forum. This will bring together young and energetic professionals, MPs, academics and policymakers from both Australia and Europe to engage in discussions around the future of the EU-Australia relationship. They will contribute to their ideas and recommendations to the Senior Leaders Forum. Mr Deputy Speaker, the government should be commended for this successful ongoing work.
For that